It's green, it's huge, it's juicy, and it's taking the plant-based world by storm. It's the jackfruit, and we're going to talk all about it on today's episode of FI Spotlight. I'm your host, Brittany Borer. The jackfruit is most common in parts of South and Southeast Asia, and there's so much of it that it often goes unused. That is where our guest comes in. She has taken on the mission to educate American consumers on the benefits for health, environment, and economy of the jackfruit through her companies, the Jackfruit Company and her new business, Jack and Annie's. I'd like to welcome Annie Ryu to the show today. Annie, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Really great to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. How did you come to start the Jackfruit Company and what is its purpose?
I started the company when I was a pre-medical student in undergrad. I was really focused on global health and global health delivery. So how do we get the best solutions that already exist to people who don't have access to them today? I was working on a health tech company that I'd started with my brother, where we were leveraging the fact that even in the most remote areas of India, people had access to mobile phones to try to increase use of critical healthcare with automated text message reminders. So it was really happenstance that I stumbled across a jackfruit on my first day in India. I then got invited to a jackfruit festival on my first weekend. And so jackfruit festivals have been going on for decades now, in recognition of the fact that this is an amazing natural resource, and what a shame that it wasn't better connected to a market. So what I saw when I was there and what I was learning about was that it's the highest yielding tree crop in the world. It's drought resistant, it's nutrient dense, and so it's thriving without any maintenance. And so basically money growing on trees that farmers who really needed that would be able to access if we could actually build a supply chain to get this amazing food to market, rather than letting so much of it go to waste at the farm level. So that was where this all started, was a vision to connect small farmers. Our average farmer has fewer than 5 acres of land, to a huge global marketplace for their produce.
Could you talk about the attributes that you see in the jackfruit and explain to us why it's the ideal fruit to be used in alternative meat products, not just for the health benefits, but for the environment as well?
To start, it comes down to the fact that jackfruit is more similar to meat than any other crop. And so, we're not processing intensively to get to a meat-like texture. Also, that is a picture of the ripe jackfruit, but we use the young jackfruit, which really has, that sinuous nature of animal muscle. And so basically, we can make any food with jackfruit that would typically be made with meat. And what that means is that we're able to deliver the nutritional and sustainability benefits of plants, but that eating experience of meat, and help to rebalance our diets in a way that's better for our health and better for the planet. We've done a life cycle assessment. So we know that our jackfruit's carbon footprint with our vertically integrated supply chain is actually 94% lower than beef's. So a huge way to reduce carbon intensity would be in replacing consumption of meat with consumption of jackfruit. Obviously, it's not a required 100% replacement, but every step along the way is better for the planet. And also from a nutritional perspective, jackfruit has that sinuous nature of meat, but it also has the juiciness of meat. And so rather than creating a meat-like product from some protein isolate powder, we're creating it from a fruit that's naturally meaty, and we're not needing to add in the fat to get to that kind of juicy experience that consumers are looking for.
So the Jackfruit Company produces seasoned jackfruit as an alt meat, and Jack and Annie's produces jackfruit-based chicken nuggets, meatballs, etc. Who's your target demographic, and what's the price point?
With the Jackfruit Company, which is, as you mentioned, like sauced jackfruit, we're primarily targeting vegans and vegetarians who are familiar with the product category and not afraid to cook with tofu, not afraid to cook with jackfruit. Not that it's difficult to prepare. We really work to take all the difficulty out of it so that all of our foods are very simple. But the consumer who is shopping that part of the store is kind of what in our consumer segmentation study we understand as the believer. So somebody who does tend to be more so vegan, vegetarian than the average population, and is looking for food that's simple and plants. And so that's and it doesn't necessarily need to taste like meat. And so we've really added sauces to the jackfruit itself, and the jackfruit itself has quite a neutral flavor profile. So the barbecue jackfruit you could use in place of barbecue pulled pork, where the barbecue pulled pork itself takes so much of its total flavor profile from the sauce. With Jack and Annie's, we target the striver. So it's like a consumer who does eat meat and wants the plant-based meat to taste just like meat, cook just like meat, but wants it to truly be better for you and better for the planet. So definitely still the vegans and vegetarians are a core part of that audience, but the majority of consumers are definitely folks who like to eat meat as well.
Something I read about what you shared was that I thought was great was that you described in the early stages of the company bringing 100-pound jackfruits to explain to people what jackfruit was during your pitches to them. Now that you are on shelves in Whole Foods and Sprouts 10 years later, how has your marketing evolved? And do people know about the jackfruit now, or are you still lugging them along to meetings?
Well, fortunately, they were more like 20-pound jackfruits, not the 100+ pound ones that weigh more than I do. But we have found that although across consumers, there's still a lot of awareness developing for jackfruit with the retail buyers, at least because we've been having the conversation with them all of these years. Awareness is vastly higher. Almost all of the retail buyers we speak to are familiar with jackfruit now. And I think what's been exciting is seeing that awareness spread across consumers and across other channels like food service, where people understand that young jackfruit is naturally so meaty, and so is a great opportunity. And on times where consumers are looking to make sure that the foods that they're eating are quite simple in their ingredients. I will also say in that regard, I think that awareness is different from actually having tasted the food, right? So more people who have heard of it than who have tried it necessarily. And so as we're continuing to gain distribution, in particular across the food service segment, and more people are getting a chance to try our foods, people are routinely like blown away and just really positively delighted by the quality of our foods. And that's something that's really exciting to see, and we love to sample out our foods anytime we can.
You were originally a med school student when you came across the jackfruit for the first time. So, what was it that made you completely pivot to becoming an entrepreneur? And looking back, would you make the same decision?
I decided to do this because it was a huge opportunity to change the world for the better. And my heart was 100% in it. So, for that reason alone, it was absolutely the right decision for me. But I could sure tell you that my life would have been easier had I followed the other path.
Annie Ryu, founder and CEO of the Jackfruit Company and Jack and Annie's. Thank you so much for your insights today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And as always, you can check out more of our great content by clicking on this playlist. Until next time, I'm Brittany Borer with the Food Institute.